Paul, contender or pretender if KD joins them?
If KD goes to the Rockets, I look at them as a pretender. And the reason why, I just feel like at this stage at KD's career, he can't be the best player night in and night out on the championship team. He needs to play on a team where at least the main guy is better than him. Just like I feel the same way about LeBron. So for me, he's going to be featured. And like who's the second best player? Sengun. If you keep him somehow, I just don't think you can take a Sengun-led team with KD to a finals.
Yeah, I'm with Paul as far as the pretending thing goes because, again, he's going to have to be the same guy that he was in Brooklyn, the same guy that he was in Phoenix, which is the guy on a team that doesn't have another guy. And you're now going to have to deplete that roster to get him to some degree. And who are you going to – is Sengun gone? Or are you giving up Dylan Brooks along with – like, who are you giving up to be able to acquire Kevin Durant?
Yeah, look, who you're giving up to get him is the question in with all of these teams.
Yeah. So let's not get into the weeds.
I don't want to get into that.
Let's have fun.
Exactly. So if I'm putting Kevin Durant is the answer to what they don't have right now.
Right.
So I would say that they would be a contender if you added them.
It's unrealistic to just not get into the weeds.
You're going to ruin the game.
Yeah. Why can't we be in a happy place?
I'll just go with it. Fine.
Come on, Kit Man.
Fine. I'll go with it. I'll go with it. Finish. Go right ahead, sir.
We know they're going to lose players, but
I just said we're going to go with it.
We're doing the best. Okay, sorry. This is on me. This is my responsibility. Let me put a pause. We're playing this game.
Okay.
Assuming that they lose the most minimal amounts of players.
Let's say, even with the Rockets, if you add KD to them and they don't make no trade, you just add them to that, I still don't think that they...
Okay, go ahead.
Well, and I do. I feel like a team that had, the second best record in the Western Conference, is built defensively, needs a go-to scorer. I think KD, in terms of what he's shooting, he's let us know on social media that he still shoots a very high percentage.
Very good.
And they went home after round one.
Okay.
Having the second best record.
But that's why we're saying that adding... I agree.
understand.
I think adding...
Booker and Beal didn't make playoffs, so...
I think that adding him to the Rockets would make them a contender.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. All right, moving on to the Spurs. Paul, would KD make them a contender or pretender?
I still think pretender. I like the Spurs, but they're young. You know, they haven't been to any playoffs. You don't just go from non-playoffs to being a contender adding 37-year-old KD. They'll be more competitive, but they're still a pretender, not really in the upper echelon yet.
Same thing. More competitive, pretender. I mean, I know we like Wemby, and we're looking at that and going, ooh. Now, remember, they're going to have a new coach. It's just it's a new situation.
Pretender in this case, because to the points you guys made, San Antonio is young. Victor Wembanyama is still coming along. I think there's probably even more talk about San Antonio than some of these other teams, and it makes the least sense for me as far as where KD is. I want to see him on a team that has the potential to play, and I would say that Houston has the potential to play for a title far more than San Antonio does.
Yeah, I agree. There's too much turning around in San Antonio right now. I don't think Wemby's there. They're not quite ready to compete at that level to add a KD. Next is the Timberwolves. Paul, would KD make them a contender?
Now we're talking, Joy. This is a contender because the last time KD won a championship, he went to a team that already won a championship. I believe if KD's going to get there, he has to be on a team that's ready to win and that's been deep in the playoffs already. That's the missing piece. So, yes, contender in my eyes. You add him with Anthony Edwards, that's going to be a tough team to beat.
For sure. Contender, 100%.
What?
You add him
right.
Ant-Man, Julius Randle. You pick up a younger point guard in the situation, or you still got the point guard that you drafted, but you need to bring him along. I think they're contenders for sure.
I'm going to go for pretender, in spite of where they went, and in spite of what I said about Houston. But I think that what KD adds is a surplus of riches. I don't need more scoring with that team. I need more collective efficiency, and I need Anthony Edwards to be a leader. He's still going to be my first. Anthony Edwards is going to still be my first option, and the general IQ of that team has to be raised. And I don't know if KD necessarily does that. The other part is...
KD doesn't raise the IQ?
They need... No. KD does, but does he raise the leadership? Who are my leaders
It's
on that
still
team?
Ant-Man is the leader.
Ant-Man is the leader.
Okay, then we're still pretenders, because I'm not impressed with the leadership at this
And then
point.
we all talked about...
So Houston, who's the Who's the leader?
Fred VanVleet's the leader.
So you rather have what? Okay. But we talked about.
We're not talking about talent. We're talking about leadership.
I understand. So we talked about KD not being able to be the number one guy on these teams, but he's not the number one in Minnesota. It'll be Ant-Man.
Okay.
But the
So
leadership
you
is
like
Conley.
that? You like that
Not
setup?
Conley, but leadership.
Yeah. Which we've said we don't know what he has left.
Well,
Fair,
we're
that's
just assembled now. We're
That's fair.
playing best case scenario
Yes.
game.
Fair.
Right?
Yes.
I think he makes them a contender. I think he adds to what they do. I think he gives
3-1, you lose.
It's not a competition.
I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are fool's gold.
But that's what I think that KD would help that. Over to the Miami Heat. Paul, KD make them a contender or pretender?
I think they're a pretender because they're so far off. They're a play-in team. Yeah, they got some nice pieces, but I just think they're not quite there in the Eastern Conference with adding KD. Again, he would have to be their best player, and at this stage, I feel like you need to get a player that's better than KD at this stage to be a true contender. And there's only a few of those in the league. Like you add KD to Joker or Greek Freak, then we talking. But here in the Miami, pretender.
Ooh,
No, I
sounds
feel
like
like
Celtics hate.
I feel like they would be contenders because the way that I look at it, they still got. He becomes their Jimmy Butler to a degree, with everything else. Because we're not moving players, remember, Joey? We just gonna keep it the way it is.
I know the rules.
You know, and so you still got Wiggins over there and Tyler Hero and company. So I think they would be contenders coming out of a watered down. Well, I don't want to call it watered down because Indy may win the championship out of the East, but not a strong Eastern Conference, so to speak.
Yeah.
Why do we never mention Bam Adebayo?
I could mention Bam too. Bam's there. That's fine.
I'd say that he would make them contenders.
Yeah.
One, because you're in the Eastern Conference, and two, is what they most desperately need. I see them, these two, I see Houston and Miami sort of on the same track. Defensively, I have what I need. What I don't, I'm not buying Tyler Hero as my go-to guy on a team that can contend for a title. I need somebody who's a little more talented than that. But when I look at Eric Spoelstra and what he's able to do with a variety of pieces, and I give him just enough talent, I think KD puts him over the finish line.
Absolutely, I agree, especially next to Bam. If they can bring that type of scoring in, you don't have to worry about leadership there. We know that the Heat are going to put together a deep, deep bench no matter what they have to work with. So I think that makes them contenders. And finally, the New York Knicks. Paul, KD make them a contender or pretender?
KD makes them a contender because now we're going back to the super team era. This would make them a true super team when you add Brunson, Cat, and now KD. Those three guys are all NBA players. Definitely a contender in my eyes.
1,000% contender. Paul said it. You add him to that mix with Cat and Bronson and Bridges and whatever else they got on the bench and find the right coach in the situation. I think it'll be good.
That's my one question. I would say contenders on paper. Question is going to be, who are you getting as your coach? Because that is going to be
I would agree. Contenders pending who they hire as the head coach. So KD has been known to go after his haters on social media. In response to one post that asks, "What have you done since leaving the Warriors?" KD responded, quote, "All-stars, 50, 40, 90, all-NBA efficient buckets, brother. I also got a career-high assists one year, hit 30,000 points, won a couple Olympic golds and MVPs. What a career, and I'm still going. I love my life," with some laughing, crying emojis. Key, what do you make of KD's response?
I mean, his response is cool, but I don't even know why you got to respond. And I understand that this is who he is and what he's been and things of that nature. I just, if it's me, and I'm Kevin Durant, because I know who I am as a player and who I was as a player. And even though we didn't have social media, we still had press and we still had newspapers and things of that nature. And there was some social media to the degree, and even to this degree, people would say, "Oh, you wasn't this. Ain't nobody listening to your ass. I'm not paying attention to you." And I'm baffled a lot of the times about Kevin Durant, because the thing that I would say to KD is, I'm KD. I don't need to talk to you or even respond to you. I got a signature shoe. I'd have made hundreds and hundreds of millions. I'd have been an MVP multiple times. I'd have been the Olympic gold medalist and all. Just, my resume. Why do I even need to bother with your ass? You a peasant to me. That's how I would look at it. But clearly, that's not the way he looks at it. And I just don't understand why. Like, I don't have time to be talking to you, man. Number one, whoever these individuals are, I don't even know anything about the social media world in terms of these individuals. But clearly, they've never done anything remotely close to Kevin Durant. Even close.
You don't think user OX man
Not a chance.
I don't know.
has a bag?
Not a chance. He's sitting there going, Kevin Durant, you get to my nerve.
The voice.
There we go.
You know, he's sitting there doing that.
What do you think?
Or Paul, he's sitting there, man, I think he's tough. I ain't worried about him. Click. Spelling it all wrong and all type of stuff. I just don't, KD got it. I don't know, man. I wish I could talk to my dude and be like, man, don't pay these peasants no attention.
Problem is, KD does have too much time on his hands. That's a problem.
We all got time.
He's got too much time, obviously. Look, I think I don't want to dive into why does the Dr. Phil explanation psychologically of why KD feels compelled to respond to people on Twitter. I will say I do think that KD wants to be judged based on his personal statistics rather than the teams that he has chosen to play for. I think he looks at it and says, hey, I've balled out. Like, the teams that I've been on haven't necessarily been as successful as you would expect a team to be that has me, but I've done my job. So I don't feel like I deserve criticism. I think that's where it's coming from as far as his response to what people are saying about the career that he's had.
There's nothing to say about my career. My career speaks for itself.
Well, you would think that, but...
Well, the thing about KD, we hold him to such high regard because there was a point where many consider KD the best in the league at one point over LeBron. And so now when everybody's career is winding down, and I look at user, whatever he's saying, he asked the question.
Stop plugging this man's Twitter account.
What have you done? He asked him, what has he done? And KD rightfully answered that question. When we went to say what his teams have done, he probably was a little right in that aspect. Because if you hold KD to the same level as LeBron and Steph, guys who won multiple championships, 4 to be exact, it was a failure because when KD goes to a team, you instantly think contender. And when he doesn't accomplish that, you feel like it's a failure. Like this year, Bron not going to the finals or winning is a failure every year Bron is in the league. Same with Steph. So we hold KD to that standard. So in so many ways, this is a kind of like it's like a privilege that we say these things because we expect so much of you. As far as his greatest individual, that'll never be questioned. But as far as his team success after Golden State, and we haven't seen that, this is what people talk about.
No, it is, but it's tough to have team success all the time. Think about
against your peers, and they've had it.
But think about it this way, though, Paul. And I'm not a KD apologist. Me and him done got into it before, back and forth, whatever. But when I look at it, he goes to Brooklyn, and that thing was a mess. It was just a mess because of where we were in the country, all the sorts of stuff. The Kyrie information and the stuff was happening, and then, James Harden came in from Houston looking like the Michelin Man size-wise, and all of a sudden he shrunk down. He started playing better. Then all of a sudden this happened, that happened, and then it just was a disaster. Nothing ever worked. And then he goes from Brooklyn to Phoenix. He's hurt immediately. He's injured. Then all of a sudden, they trade for Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal's injured. Nothing was put together right. It just wasn't. And that's the facts. The facts are the facts. It just was his teams that he was on in Brooklyn and in Phoenix had a lot of issues. It was just a lot of issues.
But he chose those.
Okay,
But he also earned the right to choose those places. Like, we start KD's career with Golden State. KD was with the Thunder and took them to a finals and won a league
Westbrook
MVP. But they weren't Westbrook and them when he was there. They were all young players. Like, KD did his time. He earned the right to go to the Warriors. The Warriors, a well-run organization that drafted and developed Draymond, Clay, and Steph, and still had the space and money to be able to move around to bring in a Kevin Durant. I don't care that he chose to go to a good organization. I want to work for a good organization. I want to work with good people. I'm not going to dock Kevin Durant for doing that. He already did his time in an organization with OKC where he was drafted. He did what he was supposed to do. He took them to the finals. No, they didn't win. He won an MVP. He was excellent there. He earned his right to go somewhere else, which is what he did.
Sure.
And by the way, while he was there, he won 2 championships and was the best player on both of those teams.
And if he doesn't get hurt, he wins a third.
Right. So whatever people think about KD's career, you can think whatever you want. You can share your opinion on social media. People do it about me every day as well. And sometimes I respond and sometimes I don't. But at the end of the day, KD does not have to explain. If he wants to explain himself, do whatever it is you want to do. Right. We all do what we want with our social media. It doesn't make a difference to me. But this criticism of KD, stop acting like he started his career in Golden State. He didn't. He was in OKC.
4-time leading scorer.
Thank you. Won a league MVP. Took them to the finals. He had every right to go to an organization.
Yeah.
Stop with the suffering Olympics. You don't have to suffer.
No.
He deserved to go to Golden State, play with great players. He was the best player on those teams. He earned those championships. Hands down. If you think it's a soft way to go, you don't like achieving great things. You need great people around you to do that. They had a great coach, a great organization, a great roster, and those players wanted to play with him. By the way, Steph Curry took a back seat as one of the greatest players to ever touch a court in order to do that. So Kevin Durant doesn't have to explain his team's success to everybody.
No, I'm never going to question his decision to go to Golden State. The question is what he's done since then and why you left. And you went to Brooklyn to play with Kyrie. And you can say it was a mess, but...
It was a mess.
But it's not like...
They played together. I don't even know the number off the top of my head, but they played like 13 games together.
But you were walking into an ill-formed situation.
Okay, so here's what you charge Kevin Durant with.
Yes.
Making bad decisions on the teams that he goes to. Charge him with that.
1,000%.
Okay, that's fine.
1,000%.
That's fine. He's a bad decision maker on the teams that he chooses to go to.
Great player.
That's okay.
Bad team
Other than
picker.
Golden State.
He's a bad team picker. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Charge him with that.
Yeah.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.